this is going to be one of those kind of wishy-washy types of reviews. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, which I both really enjoyed and really hated. Not in that order. But in this way, we're going to talk about this book. And it's going to be an interesting one. This is always one of those ones where I feel like I'm going back and forth on because of kind of my different feelings here. So let's talk briefly about what Piranesi is. So this book, we have our character who's called Piranesi, though he's pretty sure that's not his name, by another character. And he lives in this great big house by the sea and just kind of exists and fishes and does kind of random stuff. And then the story is him kind of finding more about the world and about himself. I've been told it's a story of discovery. Now the problem is, the first third of this book is just utter nonsense and just a chore to get through for me, at least. I did not enjoy it at all. I would have 100% DNF'd this book had I not been reading it for a readathon prompt, because it just is kind of ridiculous. And I mean, things that it include, like all of the little chapter parts are all kind of weird. But a list of all the people who've ever lived and died, what is known for them is one. And then there's a list of things the other has given me, where he just lists an entire list of just random crap that he got from the other. And it's just all of this, like I said, just nonsense. I was so annoyed. I was complaining about it to some other people. I did not want to keep reading this at all. However, it did get a lot better, and the further I got into this, it was holding my interest a lot more. And deeper into the book, it is good, and the whole thing is well written. Like I said, it's just that kind of like over stylistic nonsense that sometimes I feel like it's a literary fiction thing. I don't really read a lot of literary fiction, so I could be wrong, but that's kind of what it felt. This in general felt like more of a literary fiction book than fantasy by any means with it. But it was so annoying to get through. But then as you start to find out more, and you start to find out more about what's going on and how there is something darker going on, and get some background on what this place actually is and how Piranesi got there. Those parts were definitely interesting, but it's still just, like I said, was kind of just that over-stylized, style over substance kind of approach for me and how I felt about it. You do get more information. There is an actual story and actual things happening the further you get, but there's just so much stuff in there that I felt like could have not been there, or could have been at least abbreviated. There's also a ton of passages where the character is just reading things from their journals that they don't remember, and just reading about people and places and things, and it's used as a device for you to find out these things. But once again, I just feel like the way that it's done just kind of irritated me. So I expected to be giving this book a terrible rating and just to be complaining this whole time. I ended up going with 3 stars. The first third was definitely 1 star for me, but the end of it was like the further I got in, toward the end was quite a bit higher. So I ended up I didn't think it was ever going to even make it to 3. I could not give this higher than 3 stars personally because of how much I really disliked the first third of it, even though the 2/3 were better. So I let the 2/3 bring it up there, and that's kind of where I ended at. So I don't think this is a terrible book. I know I spent a lot of time complaining about this. It is extremely well written. The author has strong voice with the way that they're telling this story, and the writing style is very nice. It's well written. It is something that, despite how much I disliked the beginning of it, really did actually have me pulled in by the end, and just like really actually interested. It just is one of those things that if you would have just not done what you did in the first third, if you would have found a better way to do that, or just not put in a lot of the stuff that was wholly unnecessary, in my opinion, I feel like this could have been a great book. I can see why people like this. I think if you lean a little bit more onto the literary fiction side, you like that kind of thing, you're okay with kind of a more abstract beginning to a story for it, I don't think this would necessarily bother you, and you might even love it. I know a lot of people love this. I read this for a prompt because it was on another team's favorites list, and so I know people love this. I can understand why. It was just, for me, it was my personal taste. The beginning just did not work for me quite at all. I am glad that I did this over readathon so that I didn't just DNF it, because like I said, I absolutely would have. And even after finishing it, I stand by it being reasonable to DNF in the first third, even though I have now confirmed even myself, it does get just leaps and bounds better. But it's still just the kind of thing that I don't really want to do that. I don't want to have to read a third of a book before you kind of drop the nonsense. And some of it's still there. Like I said, there's still some weird things, and the voice of this character is very unique, and like I said, it just feels kind of abstract, and it's just a little too esoteric for me. Overall, this kind of thing, I feel like in its niche, the people who are really going to enjoy this are going to absolutely love it. And I feel like there would definitely be others like me that would really not like this, or even dislike it more than I did. So I'm really curious on your thoughts if you have read this book, because I can really see both sides. Like I said, I really hated the first third, but the rest of it was very good, bordering on great at quite a few points for me. And so I can see why people would love this, and I could also see why people would hate it. So I'm really curious, and I wonder if people have both sides of it, just because I'd be curious to hear other people's thoughts on this. I'll probably have to actually watch some reviews and see what people say, agree or disagree, because I really am interested. This is one of those books that it's kind of hard to do a review, but because I figured talking through my thoughts out loud on camera would be a good way to organize them as well as I go through. And so even though this is one that I don't have a definitive, I would definitely recommend this, or I would definitely not recommend this because I'm kind of in the middle, I still kind of wanted to talk through and say, and I hope my descriptions at least gave you kind of an idea of what to expect with this. Because like I said, if you're going to read this, I feel like being aware of how it's going to be in the beginning is important, so that you know that if you do continue, you will most likely, if you're like me, find it worth continuing despite how annoying the beginning was to me, because things really do improve, and there are some beautiful parts, and the ending is very strong as well, in my opinion. Although there's definitely some elements here that, because it's more the abstract, the literary thing, we don't get a ton of explanation into a lot of the whys behind things. You find out the hows, but not so much the why of a lot of things. And so that's also something I like to have a little bit more exploration and explanation of those kinds of things done. Although it is like I said, a beautifully written book, and there are a lot of really great parts if you get that far too. So there you have it. Those are my still kind of muddled thoughts on Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like I said, I really am curious to see what other people think about this, see if people agree, disagree, or if you were kind of similar where you had mixed feelings on it, just because this is one thing that I can really see all sides. So I'm curious where you guys land. That's it for this one, though. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description, as always, for the Wizardly Enclave Discord if you want to chat books, whether this book, other books, any books, really anything at all. It is a lot of fun, and we'd love to have you. And, of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.